कुरान और ज़िक्र मोहम्मद वाले किया गया उसका सवाब उन तक पहुँचाए और आप हज़रात से गुजारिश है मरहूमा सैयदा नज़रीन शाह, सैयद मोहसिन अली, सैयद महमूद शाह, सैयद मोहम्मद शाह, सैयद गुलाम हुसैन शाह, सैयद नवाब शाह, सैयदा रुकैया बीबी, सैयद सईद अली शाह, सैयद हसन अली शाह, सैयदा आमिना शाह, सैयद आफ्ताब शाह, सैयद मजरूर शाह, सैयद इश्तियाक शाह और तमाम हाज़रीन के मरहूमीन मोमिन मोमिनात शुहदा दुनिया से जा चुके हैं। कोई बात नहीं, सब के लिए मतलब सूरह नाम फातिहा तस्बीह अल्लाह से
was emotive for all of us, everybody who saw the image, was that the baby was dead.
And that, of course, being a baby, being the fact that he was a young baby, he was separated from his parents. But the most important, the most emotive part of the story was that he was dead. And in reality, death is an emotion that brings strong, or invokes strong reactions within us. Of course, the closer the person is to the dying person, the reaction is more and more emotive. And if we look at the nizam, the system that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, then we find that it could have been such that Allah could have made a particular time of the year, a particular season for death, and a particular season for life. That, for example, babies could have been born in the beginning of the year, and people would have died at the end of the year. But He didn't do that. Instead, babies are born throughout the year and people die throughout the year. And the reality of this is that because people are born and they die throughout the year, we recall every time somebody is born or somebody dies, this process of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we call, or which we refer to when we're talking about it, as life and death. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't refer to it in that order. In these ayat of Surah al-Mulk, which I've recited, of course, one of the surahs which is recommended to be recited near a dying person and after a person has died is Surah al-Mulk. Amongst the fadail of Surah al-Mulk is mentioned that when a person passes away or a person is about to die, then Surah al-Mulk should be recited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins the discussion about in Surah al-Mulk from him. تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي بِيَدِهِ الْمُلْكُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Blessed is he in whose hand is the mulk. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And he has control of everything. That he's saying, or he's telling us, he's reminding us that remember, there will be kings and prime ministers, and there will be rulers, and there will be dictators, and there will be all kinds of people who claim power. But mulk is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And blessed is he, barakat is he who has the mulk, in whose hands is the mulk. Of course, in hands, in this terminology that we use in English as well. If we say something is in somebody's hands, we don't literally mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is holding the mulk. As some Mufassirin of Quran wrote, that there's some hands which are holding up the mulk. But in reality, we use this expression in English as well. We say this such and such business is in this hand, or it's changed hands. We use it to denote authority and power and ownership. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the same thing, that mulk belongs to me. This temporal power that people have, this is not mulk, it doesn't belong to them. This belongs to me. وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And I have power over everything. I have power over everything. And the demonstration of power, the first example of the whole surah is mentioning different characteristics of mulk. That's why it's called Surah al-Mulk. The first demonstration of that is what? الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ. The fact that he has mulk is that he created life and death. No, that's how we say it. When we're talking about this topic, we say life and death. That's why I said life and death. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ. Death and then life. Death and then life. So somebody came and asked the Marhooma Syeda Nazreen Shah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says death and then life. Whereas when we're talking about it, we say life and death. Imam Salamullah alayhi says to him, didn't you observe that everything was dead And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave life. So the beginning was not life, the beginning was death. The beginning was death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after creating the body of Adam, he said, what? Let me put my ruh into him. He was dead, I made him alive. So death came first and then life. Then he said, didn't you observe that a person is dead, then he is brought to life by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he dies, and after death, he comes back to life. After death, he has life again. So the cycle begins with death and it ends with life. Whereas we see death as the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, no, death is the beginning and life is the end. Death is the beginning, life is the end. الذي خلق الموت والحياة. So then they asked Rasulullah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He created death and life. Imam said, yes, just like you are a creation of Allah, death and life are also creations of Allah. And the sifat of death, the characteristic of death is what? Is that wherever it enters, life cannot be. It has to exit. Wherever death enters, life will exit. Now in order to, because this topic of course is a bit dry, but let's to spice it up, we mention one example, a slow story, and then I'll come back to this death and life. There was companion of our 6th and 7th Holy Imam, famous individual named Marhooma. So one day, somebody is passing by and he sees that he's sitting in the graveyard. So he says to him, why are you sitting in the graveyard? He said, actually the thing is that somebody took a loan from me. Somebody took a loan from me. And now he's not paying it back. So this person says to him, he said, if somebody took a loan from you and you want to get your money back, then go to his house. I said, no. Eventually he's going to come here. Eventually he's going to come here. Oh, he said, this man is crazy. No, it's a lesson for us. That remember, eventually everybody is going to go there. Eventually you're going to go there. Similarly, one day he's passing by the palace of al-Rashid. He sees that the throne is empty, al-Rashid is gone somewhere. So he goes and sits down on the throne. When he sits on the throne, the guards of al-Rashid, they come and they start beating him. So he starts laughing. After some time, al-Rashid comes. Says to him, why are you laughing? Bahnood says to al-Rashid, he says that actually, I'm thinking to myself, that I sat on the throne for a few moments and I'm getting such a beating. What about the one who spent his whole life sitting on this throne? What kind of beating will he get in the hereafter? They said he's crazy, let him go. The lesson is for us that the blessing is he in whose hands is the mulk. Now either somebody took the mulk and they entrusted it, they entrusted that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given them, and they dealt with the mulk and the people in the way that it was supposed to be dealt, or they didn't. If they did, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is behind them. But if they didn't, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, remember the mulk belongs to me, and if you use this mulk to go against me, then on the day of judgment you will find out what happened. Recite Salawat and Durood. So this is the cycle. Death, then life. Then death, then life. Imam said what? He said, wherever death enters, life cannot stay. But what is the reality of death? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Holy Quran, قل كل نفس ذائقة الموت. For every soul will taste death. ذائقة. Just taste. It enters and life disappears and then it's gone. But what happens in reality? What happens? The body is the same. But what happens? Until a person is alive, we say, this is a person. This is a human. As soon as he dies or she dies, what do we say? Bring the body. As soon as they die, now he's not a person anymore. Now she's not a person. Now what we say? We say, bring the body. Where shall we put the body? Where shall we bury the body? Now, there's no person anymore. What happened? What happened? Before death was a person. They had a name. After death, we say, it's just a body. What happened? Every soul will taste death. Did the body die? No. The body is still the same. The body is still the same. The head is the same, the hands are the same, the legs are the same, the eyes are the same, the ears are the same, everything is the same. When we were alive, what did we say? I want you to pay attention to this example. If there's one thing to take from today, let it be this. The eyes are the same, the ears are the same, the nose is the same, the tongue is the same, the hands are the same, everything is the same. But now we're saying the body, now we're not saying the person. Why? Because the soul is out of the body. So the body was merely the vehicle to hold the soul. That's it. Once the soul is out, the person is finished. Whereas when we were alive, what do we say? I saw with my eyes. I heard with my ears. I tasted with my tongue. I smelt with my nose. I touched with my hand. These are the five senses that we use, right? And we say that we did this. And such confidence do we have on these that if somebody says to me, do you know if this happened? What do I say? I say, I saw it. Or I heard it. I tasted it. I touched it. I smelt it. With what? You say, I saw with my eyes. Right? I heard with my ears. I smelt with my nose. I tasted it with my tongue. I touched it with my hand. Now, there's the dead body there. Does the dead body see with the eyes? The eyes are still there. Does the body hear with the ears? The ears are still there. Does the body touch with the hand? No. But the hand is still there. The nose is still there. The tongue is still there. That means these things were not doing the action. That means these things were not doing the action. What are they then? They are merely wasila for the brain. The eyes and the ears and the hand and the nose and the tongue are senses which are sensed by the brain, but these are the wasila for the brain. And when I say that I saw and I heard and I touched and I smelt and I tasted, and what in reality I'm saying is what is that my brain did these actions, but these things were the wasila for accessing the brain. Are you with me? These things are the wasila for accessing the brain, and so much confidence do I have on them is that I said I saw it. In mantiq we say one thing is a mantuq and one is a mafhum. Mantuq is that which is said, mafhum is that which is understood from it. When I'm saying that I saw it, that means I saw correctly. When I'm saying I heard it, that means I heard correctly. Even though sometimes seeing is not believing. Sometimes I mishear something, but I have confidence on my has the mulk and He has all the power. And the demonstration of power is that He created death and life. Why did He mention this creating? Can somebody else give life and death? Then we remind him in Surah al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a story. He tells us that Ibrahim alayhi salam came to Namrud. And he said what? Ibrahim came to Namrud and he said, how can you claim to be God? So Namrud asked him, he said, what are the sifat, what's the characteristics of this God that you're telling me about? He said that my Lord, Ibrahim said, my Lord, He gives life and He gives death. So Namrud said, even I can do this. Namrud said to Ibrahim, even I can do this. He called two people from his prison who were sentenced to death. He called them and he said to one of them, you are set free, you can go. The other one, he ordered the executioner to kill him. He said, I gave life to that one and I killed this one. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it's not just about giving life and death. Who originated life and death? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the qudra because He originated life and death. He originated you from nothing and then He will give you life again. He originated you from nothing, then He will give you life once again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and what if all of this is created, all of this is done, there must be some purpose behind it. All of this that's happened, there has to be some purpose behind it. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test you to find out whom amongst you is the best in action. Notice He didn't say who can do the most action. In other words, it's not about the quantity of the action, it's about the quality of the action. It's not about the quantity, who can do the most namaz, who can do the most rosé, no. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Who can do the best action? Who can do the best action? And in this regard, Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam says,